UFC 141, Lesnar versus Overeem. You had an overhyped, overrated Lesnar fighting another less overhyped, overrated Overeem. Let's get into this circus of a fight. Lesnar bounces on his toes begin as Overeem crouches and approaches with caution. Lesnar weighs inside and ducks under an overhand right. Overeem hops away from a Lesnar single leg, but he is cut above the right eye. Stepping in, Overeem lands a solid knee to his body, then shoves him away into the fence. More knees to up the gut land on Lesnar. And the ex-UFC champ is composed but is moving backwards now. Lesnar is throwing single left crosses and gets jacked with another big knee. A kick to the liver sends Lesnar to the ground. Covering up, Overeem stands over his crouching, covering opponent, landing big bomb right hands on Lesnar, and until the referee Yamasaki, the guy that waits until the fighter is almost dead before he stops a fight. Yamasaki, the fight is a TKO finish, comes officially at 2:26 of the first round. After the defeat, Lesnar announces he's going to retire from MMA, and I think that's the right thing to do. Obviously, the guy can't fight, and his health issues keeps reoccurring with his ailment problems. And unfortunately, this looks bad for Dana White. For the first time, we have witnessed a paper champion in the world of MMA. Lesnar was always all hype. He was never that good. Dana White lost his superstar. Now, people may say, well, you have a Anderson Silva, you have a John Jones, you have a Rampage, and a Shogun and a Machida. Us MMA fans live in our own little bubble. Those guys I mentioned are great, but those guys are only huge within the MMA community. Brock Lesnar had a real crossover appeal because he was one of those former WWE wrestling superstars. Some fans may think that Chuck Liddell was the first really only MMA superstar, but he really had no crossover appeal either. No one really knew who Chuck was outside of the MMA world. Lesnar only had one professional MMA fight before he was signed to the UFC. A Japanese fighter called Kim Min So. I looked this up. I'm not sure if I'm saying this guy name correctly. Well, anyways, this guy was an MMA fighter. This guy only won 2 fights out of 5 fights, and Lesnar met up with the guy. Lesnar beat up this guy. This guy was a nobody, a bum, and that warrant Dana White to sign Lesnar, because Lesnar beat up a guy that was 2-5. So that means that Dana White signs a guy that's 2-5 with no MMA experience. That's just ridiculous. He comes to the UFC. Lesnar comes to the UFC. He loses in his first round to Frank Mir. Then he fights Heath Herring, another bum. He beats him up, and to fight old man Randy Couture for the UFC Heavyweight Championship. What a joke. And people always whining about how weak the middleweight division is. The heavyweight division has been the weakest division in all of MMA for years now. and yeah, um, it's better now because that division has a few decent fighters, but that the heavyweight division just suck balls, man. I mean, I don't even want to get into the heavyweight division. What's next for Lesnar? I guess he will go crawling back to Vince McMahon, and I guess the WWE can spin it that Brock Lesnar was an ultimate fighter. He was an ultimate champion. That he's carried belts in the UFC and the WWE, even though the belt in the WWE doesn't count because wrestling is fake. But I know all the wrestling fans is gonna eat it up, and they'll probably welcome Brock Lesnar back. With all honesty, I hope Brock Lesnar will be okay, and I hope he continues and have a great life. But he really needs to see about his health issue. As for Overeem, he has. I know he's on cloud nine now, but I still have questions about Overeem's stamina and his ability to take a punch. I really believed if you had if Overeem would have remained in Strikeforce and continued with that tournament, I really think that Josh Barnett would have beat Overeem. I think Overeem can fight, will be competitive against Kane. I think Overeem will be competitive against JDS, but I still think JDS can beat Overeem. I really do. I think that Overeem is going to have problems with a lot of guys, and anytime you rip like that, all that muscle needs blood, and it needs lots and lots of oxygen. And the guy, in my opinion, is just too ripped. You know, that's one reason why he has a big stamina problem. But hey, he's in the UFC now. He's a welcome added addition to that division because that division needs all the talent that it can get right now. But I really don't think Overeem is as great as the Pride Nazis really think he is. But can't wait to see him fight again in the future. I don't know who will he face next. Well, that's the end of my video. Thank you for listening, and peace out.